It's a bit
Prepare for
awkward for Gabby. It's a very hard game for a
You need to
Terrorblade.
be like a
Like,
shark.
there's still
You need to
opportunities.
be like
We've
a
seen
shark.
Terrorblade
You need to be like a
uses
shark.
before.
You need to be like a
But
shark.
it's much more tight. The timings he has to play around is a lot tighter. They have to maximize Metamorphosis down the line a lot better. And SMG have just much more leeway to play this game as they want here.
You gotta love the mutual respect between Gabby and KP. Obviously, Gabby having a very tough time because of KP last game around. It just felt like every Chrono that was thrown out, you'd see the Tornado being thrown out by KP just to kind of ruin it. And there you go. They're just having a bit of back and forth between the two. Obviously, good friends as KP now getting disconnected. Here you go. That's what you get for talking trash against Gabby. He gives the call over to the telco, tells him to disconnect the internet. KP a bit of a warning before he gets back into the game. John, on top of that though, on top of the fact that SMG might have the better draft, what about TNC's DK persona? They've got Davion.
Yeah, it's looking good, right? Like last time around, we saw TNC with a Spectre. They had the Arcana. Maybe the key thing is to have these new cosmetics on hand. That gives TNC the motivation they need to win these games. This could be the turning point. I don't know. Like the one thing with the DK persona though, the helmet kind of makes it hard to read. I prefer him without the helmet, so there is that. But look at SMG. They're smoked up. They did this before, and if they get a good wraparound here, they've got a lot of stuns, a lot of damage on hand.
I really like this move, but this time around, Tim's, he's going to be around to make sure he breaks the smoke or spot him out and get a nice chance out. And with the Earth Spike, they might have enough control to get another stun out from Moon. And with that, they'll give the first blood over to the left track. Another great start out of SMG. Giving that first blood gold to Moon, it's going to ensure a very quick bottle for him, and life very, very hard for Armel on the puck.
Be pretty awkward for Armel, like the puck versus Leshrac matchup can go either way. You have stable wave clear on both sides, but you have to be cautious about overstepping your bounds to puck here. If an Earth split Earth does land, the follow-up damage can be pretty annoying, and of course you have to always control your lane. Once a creep wave shoves in just a bit for Moon, he can look to play with Edict once that's up and just constantly apply chip damage, and you might find yourself losing your mid-tier one earlier than you'd want to here.
Of course, we're having a look up at the top lane where KP gets a nice double silence off. Gabby already popping the Metamorphosis, and Burmy trying to be rather aggressive with the Fire Spirits, but it's like KP is going to be just fine to secure some CS for himself. KP going to have to be a little bit cautious every time that meta's off cooldown, but once it does wear off, I think KP should have a pretty darn good time with the Bloodseeker. Just being able to spam out the Blood Right going to be very annoying for Gabby on that TV.
Yeah, it's just not going to feel good once you're stuck in that melee form for Gabby. I think the one saving grace here for TNC is that it's a dual melee lane. So Boomy has a little bit more impact to play around with his range advantage, to play with the Fire Spirits once he gets some levels up. At the same time, Afu, he went for level 1 Ice Shard. He just tried to keep spamming that out, get hits on Gabby. And with the first up, you know, Gabby, he doesn't have much HP, really relies on that armor to tank up. And once you're low, a Bloodseeker just becomes a lot more potent in lane. So you have to balance your HP here quite a fair bit for TNC's end.
We'll have a look at the bot lane as well. Rogi, Tim's kind of going at it. Rogi does avoid the stroke of fate just fine. Of course, you've got Bok there, the DK, and you've got mid one once again on that carry Medusa. Last game around, they weren't able to shut down mid one at all on that Medusa. I wonder if this time they've got what it takes with this new draft from TNT to deal with mid one, but it seems like they're not going to be able to really give him the space that he had last time. If they do, if we see a repeat performance from mid one, it is still a Medusa, and it's kind of like you said with the TB. It's not going to be that simple of a task to try and get through this Medusa. See what TNC does to try and shut him down this time.
I'm looking at Bok's build-up. He did go for Dragon Tail and 2 points in Dragon Blood, so there's no real Breed Fire to prevent mid one from applying his harassment with his right clicks, clearing out the creep wave. He's playing really nicely with the Mystic Snake. And this does allow you more aggression with Dragon Tail plus Inkswell, but you're not really seeing it, although Tim's chasing Raji.
And he is, Rogi being caught out. Nice Earth Spike though, and mid one going to be around to help out as Rogi does go for a nice salve up, and Tim's is trapped between the creep wave and the trees and does end up going down. Very nice setup there from Rogi, and it costs him a salve, but at the end, who the hell cares? He's going to be just fine.
It's a nice pickup. It does get split up, so you're not too upset for TNC, but this lane's just going really well on bot. In fact, all the lanes for SMG feel like they're off to a really good start so far. Just managed to keep all these heroes in check. Gabby's not having the freest farm as well. Barely above the Dusa, which is decent, but KP's already getting enough space to just hold that lane solo. Gabby, when Metamorphosis is up, he can look to play aggressive, but not really looking to set up just yet. And every single time Blood Right lands, again, you're a low HP hero, high armor. Magic damage just makes it so annoying to hold that lane for Gabby.
Right aside, at least Armel's having a pretty good time in that mid lane of the park. Currently top CS on the board. I must say, Moon, not really that far behind either. He's just 4 CS behind at the moment, and with this wave, he should be able to easily keep up with that puck. There's going to be a lot on the shoulders of Armel this game, right? Like, you are really requiring him to just make those rotations and set up these kills for TNC. This draft of SMG and the way the lanes have gone, it could be a very tough time if Armel can't set up these kills.
He needs to be active on that puck, especially once he hits his level 6, level 7 with the Dream Coil up. You're going to have to look for a nice pick off in the side lanes. You do run the risk of giving your mid out. You maybe want to play more passively instead. Just protect that mid, keep the lane at equilibrium to prevent a shove from the Lesh, but that just kind of runs the risk of letting these side lanes just fester for longer and just kind of give SMG too much to play with. So there's a lot of choices Armel's going to have to make. At the least, he's slightly ahead of that Leshrac right now, 34-5 up against 26-1. So you've got that early farm advantage on hand, and that does mean that Moon's not going to look for that early push opportunity just yet.
Bottom lane, Spike is out. Got Bok on that DK, and now with the shards of the tag team, it might just be enough to get through Bok's HP pool as a snowball. Give me then a follow-up, but he's a very tanky DK, and we'll be able to back off as now Armel make the rotation in. He only got one with the Dream Coil, but it will give him a kill. And immediately he's back off to the mid lane.
That's exactly what we needed to see from Armel. He takes that good opportunity for the rotation. He's going to get a rune up at the 6-minute mark, so he's going to be topped up. The creep wave was shoved out far enough that Moon couldn't really do much for the Edict there. So the power is still standing at a fairly good amount of HP, and he gets that impact he wants early. It's not the biggest kill, but it does provide some relief on those side lanes, which TNC really needed. It's like it's just lining up all too nicely for SMG, and it at least makes mid one think twice about overextending in the lane, but you're still not quite stopping the Deucer from farming there.
You are not. And now he's screwing up on the left track, gonna make the rotation towards the top lane. That level 3 Diabolic Edict, but rather than trying to make something happen with that top tier 1 tower, he'll take the stacks away just to ensure Gabby doesn't have a chance to them himself. I mean, he does watch all this, but it won't matter because he can't do anything about it.
Middle tower is under attack.
Immediately Moon is going to go back towards that top lane as Arfu, he'll take over the mid lane in his stead. We're seeing this kind of prettier playstyle from SMG, but it does kind of just pay off for them. They are still securing the farm they want. And now top lane, Boomy, chased down by KP, does get spotted. KP not at that level 6 mark yet, so can't quite get the rupture off, but will force the Icarus dive away. That's going to allow Moon with the Diabolic Edict to get to work into that top tier 1.
Middle tower is under attack.
Still have Tims and Gabby around along with Boomy to try and defend this, and I think their presence may be enough. Now Moon, he's going to TP down to the bot lane. Bok, he's the only one there on the DK. They might just need +1 to lock him down. Unless Moon can land the split earth, but won't be able to get it this time. Instead, Rogi, he'll come in from the side. DP's cancelled off early, so he's already missing one here on the side of TNC, and now they're going to lose Bok. Armel, he does show up, but it is too late. They will get to work into that bottom tier 1 with the Diabolic Edict. Not really much Armel can do about it, but he does get a very nice denial.
And this is the momentum we were talking about from SMG. They've got such good push coming out with Lush, especially in comparison to the DK, that once you start losing these towers, TNC's map shrinks a lot more, and it expands for SMG. You get more space for mid one to feel safe, you get more flash farm for the Dusa to hit those item spikes, and TNC's just in a really awkward position right now.
Jenny, Eyeball does connect, but Arthur now wants to back off as Gabby. He's on the high ground with the meta, just ready to go. Mel will take another nice kill on the puck. Second kill of the game for him on this puck, and things still going relatively smoothly for both sides. Gabby just barely ahead of mid one on the Medusa. It is still about the mid lane matchup, right? It's still about Moon and Armel being able to set the pace for their team. It looks like Arthur and Moon will go for a smoke up. Question is, where are they headed? They might go for Gabby, but they're going to head towards that top lane where KP does cancel off his TP and now goes for a rupture. Gabby going to be stuck there. He'll try to get out of vision. Arthur, Snowball not going to be there in time. We'll just roll the other ways. They'll go after Tim's instead. Blood right, not actually going to get the vision as Tim's. He just ran straight south and they haven't found him. Tim's is somehow out of there. They're still having a look around. Korea, not gonna spot him either. Tim's, he will survive. At top T1 tower, probably not gonna be so lucky.
SMG, they really wanted that kill. Gabby's still kind of given a lot of space here, all things considered, but they'll be able to find that top tier one, so Armel's here.
Oil out Armel, he's got a massive target there as Bonk. Gonna try and help out with the Dragon's Tail. That should be enough to lock him down and get the damage out. SMG thought about jumping in, but there's not really much they could have done. That is a huge pickoff now for the side of TNC, and you gotta create a bit more space for them to be able to just secure that farm onto Gabby and Armel.
Is under attack.
They're doing a good job of just protecting the TV. They're not looking to play aggressively themselves onto the Dusa, so you're kind of trading farm, and we're seeing mid one slowly catch up. Like, the last hits are racking up, the triangle is fairly protected, there is a ward here from TNC to watch. They're not really able to do as much with that information, so I think overall you're still kind of happy on SMG's end, and it still kind of boils down to what you were saying, the mid-core matchup. Moon still needs to find some towers to melt for the Edict. Mid-tier 1 still standing, top tier 1 still standing. In that sense, it's feeling pretty good for TNC. They even out the bot lane push down the line, so relatively even in map control. And I think that serves to benefit TNC a little bit more, considering that SMG are the one with a bit more of a push advantage for this draft.
Drop shot, top lane, they've got Bok. They're very kind of tanky here to go after. They're not going to pursue it. Bok's just going to stand there. We'll be all right. They are still bringing heroes up here from SMD to try and set up for that push, but with the Grimstroke around on Tim's, it's proving to be a real challenge for the side of SMG. Bok doesn't even have the breathe fire up, but he just doesn't need it. He stands there hitting creeps. He's fine.
It's a lot more of a passive build, so you can't be as aggressive, but that doesn't matter when it means that SMG's own moves are not really panning out. TNC, knowing Rupture is down, they've got a bit of a spell advantage here, and they're going to look for a smoke play here.
Yeah, Armel going to move on to the high ground. They'd love to find mid one, and that's exactly who they do get. A big sword does come in with the Sans and with no mana shield. He will get blown up. Great setup there from the side of TNT, and you look at Gabby. Will join in that mid lane, and they'll get started on that mid tier 1 tower push now with the Metamorphosis. Immediately the side of SMG, they need to try and get something done about this. You don't want that mid tier 1 tower to drop with the Medusa on your side.
Dire's
Blood right
is under attack.
will be enough with the Lightning Storm spam. TNC, they get the rotations they wanted. They won't overextend. Just back off and continue their farm up.
I think this is pretty darn good for TNC. They killed the Dusa, the one target we've been talking about. That's an AFK farming. They make good use of that ward they planted earlier on. And they're pretty much protecting Gabby. Just sort of allowed to free farm, still above the Dusa, which is not where you want to be as the Dusa. Although in terms of net worth, it's rather even in that end. And Gabby's going to hit this spike once the SMY is up, so they just need to hold steady here for TNC's part. They could wait for the next Dream Coil. It's going to be up in 15, and they can look to play with Dream Coil Egg. Still haven't seen the combo kick off, but you get these heroes from SMG in a really tight spot. Could be a bit awkward for them to try to counter-fight that. Maybe they could kind of turn it around if their Leshrac's in good position, but Moon only really has a Hood of Defiance to protect. No Yule's up, doesn't look like he's rushing it as well. So all of that damage damage flying through. It could be a bit of an issue for Moon down the line if he's caught off guard.
Certainly could. He's top of the net worth board here, Moon, so still having a great old time on the left track. He said he's got the Sanj on the way very, very soon. As seems like SMG, they're more than comfortable to play the farm game here with TNC. No real pressure being applied, although I say that top lane, they're gonna find our food.
You might wish to retract
TNC,
your
they'll
last
get
move.
another kill for themselves onto Armel. It'll be his fourth of the game, but mid one, he's gonna show up to make sure this top tier 1 stays defended. Was even with the Medusa this early on, just being able to spam Mystic Snake is gonna be enough to force the side of TNC back. TNC could keep just kind of making SMG run across the map defending towers, but SMG, they seem more than happy about it. They're just fine with this.
In the end, I mean, it's still spaced out for Medusa. They're not quite really trading objectives on either side. And again, it's a bit of a equal state for both teams. Network's not swinging out too much. Map control's relatively the same. Both cores are farming up at a steady pace. The one thing that does line up to, though, is that I feel like a Terrorblade with equal amounts of farm with Medusa, at least at this point in the game, is going to have a bit more impact. It's just down to the fact that Metamorphosis is a lot stronger earlier on. The damage boost is huge. Medusa needs so many more items to really hit that stride. And I think as long as TNC understands that, and Precious would happen to be good, although the smoke broke.
Well, KP's in trouble though. He'll die to Armel. He'll get the Rupture Rapper. It won't matter. And meanwhile, on the other side of the map, they have started another team fight. As Spock is being focused down and eventually may go down.
Is under attack.
Be able to get him. He trying to make a chase up to that high ground of the triangle, but it won't work out in their favor. The brighter side though, considering they found KP at the bot lane, it's just a position 3 for a position 3 trade. And it doesn't seem like either team minds playing the farming game. These even trades seem to favor both teams in their own minds.
Is under attack.
Yeah, I don't blame them for thinking that way. They've gotten massive heroes to keep farming up on. I think that trade ends up a bit better for TNC because Armel basically gets that solo. SMG had the shared around, shared the XP.
This is what you don't want to lose though, John. Mid one is being caught out. A nice earth spike and a Manta touch on the Inkswell. Very, very nice. Mid one, back into the triangle. He has no mana, but he'll be all right. They won't be able to chase him there. Instead, TNC have to get started onto that mid tier 1 tower again.
Radiant's middle tower is
I'm
under
SMG,
attack.
they may not really be around to defend this one, as it'll be a little bit too challenging with Armel and Bok around, and yeah, it looks like they are going to just let this one go down.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
It's a tier 1 top for a tier 1 mid, favoring TNC just a bit more. That does give SMG a nice lane to threaten every single time. They plant a deep ward here on SMG's end in that top jungle area as well to keep track of where the Terrorblade's farm. But Armel,
Radiant's middle tower
Goodness,
is under
Armel.
attack.
Completely blowing up Rogi. A Witch's Blade just makes it so hard to get away as the line, and now top side,
Radiant's
Boomy.
bottom tower is
Rupture
under
out, the
attack.
Icarus dive might be enough, but the Blood Ride is coming, he will have to commit the egg. He'll survive, but it will cost him that long cooldown. No egg for another 2 minutes here for Boomy. Because on the brighter side, they won't give the kill away to KP.
I think you're perfectly fine with that, honestly. Like, we haven't really seen
Dire's
big
middle
eggs,
tower
big
is under
engagements out
attack.
from TNC. As you mentioned, they've just been a lot more keen on farming, maybe a couple of pickoffs here and there, but no giant team fight where you can really leverage the egg. And in that sense, just saving yourself isn't too bad of a use if you're not expecting to fight anyway. And still seeing the net for an even kill board, 4-7, a bit of a slower game here, as much slower than we're used to seeing from Southeast Asia, but relatively even. I think both teams, it's one of those games where it's like a spring that's really wound up. The moment it pops, either side could just have a massive lead on hand, so we're just waiting for that big moment. For the most part, we're seeing some conditions come out. S and Y up on our Terrorblade means that stat resistance is going to feel a lot better, more strength on hand to be durable up front, but our Medusa's inching closer and closer towards the Ags. Right, mid one has the Manta, is about 2k away, 2.1k away from the whole Aghanims up, and that's when the Medusa feels extremely obnoxious. No BKBs in sight for TNC just yet. Gabby is going to be rushing one next, but if that Ags comes out before the BKB does, it's going to be a bit troublesome there for the TV once that Stone form comes out.
Absolutely. Mid one getting to work. Got that Aghanim Scepter. You do also have a Grove Bow on the side of SMG. I believe it was dropped if they want to try and use it, but now he'll just ignore that.
Dire are scanning.
Aghanim Scepter should be more than enough as top lane. KB gonna get caught out with the Dragon Tail, and with the Inkswap follow-up, it'll be more than enough. Take him down, and Gabby just a couple gold ahead of mid one, but they are kind of just going back and forth.
Is under attack.
Top of that net worth board.
Radiant
A
structures
very, very
are
close
fortified.
game 3, and of course for either side you don't really want to have to get knocked to the lower bracket in the first round of the playoffs, but that's unfortunately how it's going to be. Is now they found Fu on the Tusk. Another kill off the back of Armel's puck. See, they'll continue to be the more aggressive team, at least for now. They head towards the bot tier, excuse me, the top tier 1 tower.
Radiant are
Because
scanning.
the Roshan is going to be open for them as well if they so wish.
Sun.
Do have the meta up.
Here I am.
Radiant's top tower has
They can
fallen.
look for that quick rush if they want. What I'm more surprised by is SMG's movements. Like, they were shoving in the bot lane. They haven't taken that mid tier 1, which is something we've been talking about a long time, especially this Leshrac for Moon. They haven't found that big objective, and it's just allowed much of that dire side of the map for TNC just stay uncontested. Stable farm for the Terrorblade coming through, recovery coming out for Bach, and highly effective with his Blink. BKB's up next as well for the DK. Armel's been allowed to finish up his travels and Blink, so the puck's a lot more mobile as well, and he's jumping in.
Armel, he's right in. Rodgy gonna die immediately as Arfu goes for the Walrus Punch, but the orb out from Armel. It's gonna mean they can't quite catch him. He is 7-0-2 now on this puck. A classic performance from the Armel puck, of course, and
Behold.
he's going to be a very, very pesky kind of hero as KP does rotate down towards the bot lane, but Armel just making so much space with these rotations from SMG. Not giving them the time of the day. Right out.
Just a hit and run for Armel, buying out a ton of space. It forces so many heroes to try and chase him down. A lot of TPs onto that tier 2 tower to just cut their losses and maybe find some punishment, but they end up just sort of wasting time. So it's only the Deucer that gets to build up steadily in the
Radiant's top
jungle.
tower is
Now the
under
good news
attack.
is that mid one's Ags is just about
Dire's middle tower
430
is
gold
under
off, so
attack.
not too long till that spike is up. And that is going to be before the BKBs come out for TNC, just by a small margin. So we might have to look into using that while it's still highly effective. And they are lining up for that mid-tier 1 push right now, at least. For the work.
Here I am.
Back off. Still very intimidating to go into the side of TNC. They know how farmed Gabby is right now on this Terrorblade, and I don't think he'd really mind going for a big team fight if he needed to. But SMG, they'll have a quick peek into the Roshan and see nothing.
Radiant's bottom tower
Up through that
is under
dire jungle,
attack.
just trying to wrap around back into that mid lane, but who are they going to find? Bok is showing, but Armel is the much bigger target if they can catch him. Bok, he might prove to be a little bit too tanky. In fact, now he jumps in looking for a Dragon Tail. They'll get the Hex out into the Walrus Punch. Sunray is keeping him alive, but he's been ruptured off. He cannot run, but doesn't matter. They found our food for the sake of the DK, and now Moon goes down as well. AB, he's going to try and run, but it looks like he is set to die and does.
Did you mean to elude me?
Alright,
Really, with that Sunray, just it felt like he kept Bok around for so much longer than he should have been alive. And TNC, they just got the damage out and immediately jumped. They're into the Roshan pit.
Greetings.
This is just perfect coming out from TNC. There are no ways for SMG to real well to one.
Straight runs in. Manly kind of play here from mid one.
Behold sun.
Have the Aghanim Scepter up as well, don't forget. So he is feeling quite confident on this hero, and surprisingly enough, just his presence alone will force back the side of TNC.
Radiant's
I
middle
kind of
tower
like seeing
is
that
under
conservative
attack.
play. Armel was way far off on map playing around that bot jungle area. They don't have Dream Coil up, Egg's not up, the Ink's up, the Soulbind's not up as well, Dragon Form isn't remotely close, so they're not quite in fighting shape on TNC's end, and they only had a little time in Metamorphosis. So it would have been really awkward to drag that fight out. SMG respawns are relatively low at this point in the game. They could easily just run in and contest, and yeah, it's just some more discipline coming out from TNC, which is a good change, especially compared to game 2, where kind of got out of hand just in a few spots. We were seeing some lapses in judgment. This time around, they're sticking together with a specific game plan, and it is shaping up. I think they respect the fact that mid 1's pretty darn big with the Ags. They're going to have to find a solution for it, though. I think they've got some good answers, especially if Armel gets to jump in and try to immediately control the back line, maybe prevent mid 1 from focusing on the front before anything else. But for the most part right now, mid 1, with his farm he's built up, should be relatively protected, and TNC just have to always think twice when they see him show up in the map.
But they do. Hasn't really been involved in too much here mid 1. Like 1 death, 3 assists. Pretty standard kind of Medusa game. We do have the go ahead, so we should be going rather soon. Back at Armel on the puck. He's still 8-0-4, not dying once. The signature heroes just doing a fantastic job. Going for that Lincoln Sphere as well, because that's the one counter, right? Like, you don't want to get caught out by the Hex of Rogi. That Lincoln Sphere up going to make it a lot more challenging, to catch this puck, and even being able to throw it the way of one of your teammates just to be able to help them avoid something like the rough shot. Quite impactful is now SMG. They're going to be the ones to go into the Roshan pit. He's still roughly half HP. In mid 1, he'll get started. TNC, they should be aware that this is happening. They did have vision. But how are they going to try and fight this? With the sun ray and the reflection, it'll force them out of the pit. They're going right back in. Mid 1, he wants to fight. Tag team up. Arthur going to get started. Numi going to be forced back. Magatel is out. Moon, he went too far. Snowball, though, is going to save Arthur. Will buy some time. There's just Stone Gaze out as well. They're right in onto the DK box. He's dropping quite low and will die. A great start to the fight. SMG are back in the Roshan. Meanwhile, Armel, though, does end up killing off KB, but he does die for the first time this game as TNC. They are still trying to fight this one out. Moon, he'll hold them back along with Armel. Mid 1, he'll get the Roshan done, and now Gabby, he'll go for a Sunder, but he is really just stuck between all the side of SMG. He's going to go down. Bit of a panic Roshan attempt from TNC, and really just does not work out in their favor.
And they weren't ready for that fight.
Moon's still going. He wants Tim's on the Grimstroke. He won't be able to keep up with him though, so Tim's is going to be alright, but they'll get the mid-tier 1 tower instead.
And that's been way overdue here for SMG. It's 24 minutes in for the mid-tier 1. A bit slow, but they find it eventually, and they have Roshan on hand. TNC, that was a really awkward fight. They had no egg, they had no dragon form, they had no metamorphosis, they only had Dream Coil to play with, and it's just not enough. Armel kind of overextending there as well is not great. He loses a massive streak out just for that kill on KP. Much bigger win for SMG, and this is the point where it starts to get pretty scary. Mid 1's building into the Scotty once more. The Deuce is starting to build up. The Bloodseeker with his Solar Crest can just really run around and pick off the backlines if you're not careful. And the magic output of Moon with a Kaya Sanj and the Eternal Shroud to tank up is significant. So TNC's got to be really cautious and think about when they take these fights. If their spells aren't up, chances are SMG can just run you down.
Scanning.
He's smoked up. Gonna find. It's like Bok. He's gonna break the smoke, and Roger, he's got him with the Hex out and the Walrus Punch. They lock him down, and Bok, he's got no help around him, so he's just kind of forced to die. Moon on the left track.
Dire's
SMG,
structures are
they're starting to look like they're in control of this game. Number 3. Get to work into that top tier 3 tower, and TNC, they do not want a bar of SMG right now.
Radiant's bottom tower is
Got
under
played
attack.
safe. They are getting a bit of a chase on Armel, but he does manage to zip ways the puck. Very slippery here to catch. There is some space here for TNC to try to trade that bot 2-2 for their top. And they are getting some good damage out. They've got the Siege Creep on hand. The Illusion Spam coming out from Terrible It is pretty nice as well. They should at least get this sort of consolation prize on the tier 2. Maybe even get the outpost if they want to deny some XP per minute away from SMG. SMG for their part, Aegis they've got a lot of time in it left, about I don't know, like 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes left on that Aegis, so a lot of time for mid one to be protected, and going for the direct tower trade doesn't hurt them too much. It's much more painful now for TNC. They still need to hit BKBs on Bach, they need that burst damage on Armel, going for the Dagon build up on the puck as well, and that's still a long way off until you get Dagon 5 or at least Dagon 3 here to really burst them heroes down. It's going to be a while longer, and TNC needs more time to farm up, but now you're starting to trade farm with a really big Medusa, and that's just never a great feeling, especially after what we saw in game 2.
Certainly not. You can see back to the drawing board, it seems like, as Gabby, he's just trying to get that Eye of Skadi up, but it's going to be a while away. But mid one with his own Eye of Skadi coming out very, very soon, and so many issues getting into that back line and dealing with mid one. It's going to be very annoying with that Stone Gaze and the Aghanim Scepter Mystic Snake. But you can play the split push game here for TNC. You do still have the Puck, who's one of the better split pushers in the game. Soon, a run right into Gabby. They'll be able to potentially find a killer as Moon is going to try and fight this one out, but silence there, and the Dream could have locked him down. There wasn't much he could have done. Just of TNC trying to find a few more heroes to try and pick off, but nobody going to be around here from SMG. Everyone backs out again. TNC, it looks like they'll accept what they get and back off, but it's not really the prize target you want, right? Like, you really want that Medusa if you can find her. Mid one's still just not giving them any openings.
He's just playing in the back, playing in the jungle, really safe. He's always got support to watch his back as well, so it's not the target you can easily jump, but TNC has some good items. They have the BKB on Bach, and the Ags is up on Tims. So they've got the Dark Portrait. That big farmed Medusa can turn against them. And we've seen this Dark Portrait really cause issues for a lot of teams. It's almost like a Nyx with Ags, right? Like, once you have that burrow, all the added spells you have can be obnoxious. This illusion's just really annoying to deal with, and you're gonna have to watch yourself on SMG now once it's out. You might want to try to commit with Raji to take it out instead, but it still is gonna be a big factor as long as Tims finds the right target to get the portrait of.
Pushing here by Armel. SMG gonna start invading that Dire jungle again.
Dire's
Trying to find out where the side of TNC are, and we're gonna find a courier for their trouble.
Attack.
Mafu gives the Walrus Punch over to the courier of Armel. Take the outpost back as well. Of course, TNC just completely unwilling to start a fight. Leads 5v5 as Raji
under attack.
trying to find Armel on the puck, but to get the Hex off. Meanwhile, mid lane, Boomy is fine. Now Tims, he does have that Ink Portrait up. You actually have to commit quite a lot to just try and burst
Radiant's
it down.
bottom tower is under attack.
That's going to be a big factor, John. Like, against Medusa, it's not necessarily one of those heroes that you think about when you think of the Grimstroke Ink Portrait. It was rather tanky, I must say, and I suppose if it's left alone long enough, it will do a substantial amount of damage. You think maybe that's the key here for TNC?
Dire are scanning.
Definitely, it's going to be a big factor. You're always going to have a good source of damage just flying out. Mid one doesn't do the most damage yet, but as he builds up on items, it's just going to work against him if he's not careful. So SMG has to be always sort of aware of where the Grimstroke's kind of positioning himself, of what he uses that Dark Portrait of. A Soulbind Dark Portrait would be really annoying. So look at that. Tim's just microing, cutting off the creep wave, preventing any push opportunities, clearing out the creep wave by himself. It's fun.
Beautiful.
Great hero.
It's balanced. Very balanced. TNC. Look up, Arthur gonna run right into him, does break the smoke, but Armel gonna move forward with a nice stream call, catching out Moon. Are they gonna go after the left track? They'll try to focus in onto mid one, but mid one, he's gonna be just fine. Instead, they'll commit the egg, they'll continue to fight onto Arthur. Zeke will go down the pass, but now the fireback's there. Arthur, he wants to come back in and try and stop this team fight again as mid one. They'll go onto Bok, they'll find the Dragon Knight, and they'll take down the DK. So Armel, he's back in on the backside. He does kill off the Lash. Arthur, aim down Tims. Gabby trying to get to work, but the X is out. They've got the Earth Spike as well, and they might just have enough control to take down this TV. Or do they? He still has the Sunder. He'll get it off. He'll turn back around. It'll be a time back on Arfu. Now mid one. He needs to get out of there. Armel even finding Roddy in the backside.
Silence.
They do get the Medusa away.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
TNC. They just prolong the team fight long enough, and this time around it does work out in their favor.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Position was just on point. They put the DK all up front. Mid one's gonna have to shove this wave back by himself, which he can do. It's a Dusa. Can really split shot quite nicely and still really annoying to deal with for most of these heroes. But you're seeing the conditions come out for TNC. They're allowed to sustain with Boomy as long as his position is good for the Sunray. It's very hard to burst down these heroes. Even with that Scotty up on mid one, it's just a pain to still deal with all that heal coming through from the Phoenix. And the damage output of Gabby's just greater than Dusa right now with the itemization. Like Scotty's up, Dragonlance and BKB, but he's got the Crystallis, he's got the SNY for faster attack speed as well. Once you have the full Daedalus up on Gabby, as long as he's got Metamorphosis to play with, the Deuce is not going to feel great up front. And mid one's actually going for the MKB in sort of expectations of the butterfly for Gabby, but he's just not even bothering. So that MKB, the attack speed will be nice, but your true strike's not going to matter because you're kind of building a counter pick for an item that's not even coming out on this Terrorblade anywhere.
Well, I'm also concerned about what you pointed out earlier, John. The more damage items mid one gets, the more that Ink Portrait's going to do. With that MKB up, it's going to be a lot more painful for SMD to try and deal with that Ink Portrait coming out from Tim's. A little bit concerned here for SMG as the game does go on. A 5k net worth lead now for TNC Predator. It's still a rather close game between the two and could go any way. Feels like this game is going to be banking on the next Roshan, which is up, by the way. SMG already kind of posturing around it, getting the vision of that Roshan. So important for both teams to try and secure that second Roshan with the Aegis Cheese and Shards. And the mid one, he's already getting started. An Ink Portrait though, gonna scout it out. You've also got that Daedalus now onto Gabby.
Dire are scanning.
SMG, play it safe, they'll back out of it.
Yeah, it's a good call. They don't really have the best vision to take the Roche right now. No forward wards, the spot where TNC is. And TNC, well, they're under its smoke right now. They could look to play into that high ground here.
He doesn't want to be caught like this with the Sunray and the Dragon Tail right on top. Still, he got the Stone Gaze off in time, so he can try to back off and down the Soulbind, locking him down. And look at the damage output. And he just rips him to shreds onto the Bloodseeker. KP's gone. Armel's got the backside. He'll kill off Rogi, and now Moon. He's going to try and run, but he has been left all by himself. They'll get him.
Your essence seeps.
Oh, what kind of damage was that from Gabby?
Daedalus, man. It's the
to be like a
itemization compared to the Dusa. The Dusa going for that MKB, it's just not enough damage. And it's not any more durability as well for the Dusa to stand and fight. It's just not panning out, and they have to put that Dusa up front as well. It's their tankiest hero. It's the one that can take all the hits. You don't really want your Bloodseeker up front. And that just puts you at massive risk. They managed to get the initiation they want. I think they kind of focused on Armel on the low ground, but they didn't expect everyone else to swing in from that southern ramp, and it just kind of cost them. High ground under siege, Aegis Cheese, free Ag Shard up. It's really scary to fight into this. They don't even have the Stone Gaze just yet, although it should be up by the time the respawn's there. These objectives will not hold for too long. They won't get mega creeps up as the tier 2 top is still standing, but 2 lanes of racks down. It's going to be a bit more annoying for SMG to keep these gates shoved out.
The Rax is down now for SMG as the second does get taken by Gabby as we speak. Icarus time, gonna find out Arfu. Dream Coil's there, they want to just take the tusk out of the team fight immediately. They do break the coil. The Ink Swell right behind by Bob. Take him out. That's Arfu down with that buyback again. TNC.
Radiant's bottom barracks has fallen.
Secondary Rax, Gabby. He has the Aegis, but there's your Soulbind out. In fact, they might just try and turn around and fight this. Rodney's already gone down. Now the Thunder around mid one.
Oh no.
He's dead without buyback.
Oh boy.
Oh, it's a disaster here, John. TNC.
Really hard.
Radiant's middle
They're
tower
going over the tier 4s now. Rodney, he's trying to get something done with the finger out. They're going after Armel, but he is still alive. He'll get the phase shift off with the ult down below from a moon. He will secure the kill, but doesn't matter. They are getting completely wiped, and they call the GG. TNC. They just turn right back around and take game 3 off the side of SMG.
Yeah, it looked really even for a long time, but as we were talking about, it's like a coiled up spring. The moment the tension leaves, it just explodes. And it boiled down to a couple things. The Ags from the Grimstroke was really good.